And we continue at 2:06 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
John, today is the 175th anniversary of California's statehood, making it the state of California's 175th birthday. And since it is that very special day, we have a very special birthday singer.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Alan. Happy birthday to you.
Well, even though we're 175 years of age, we are 172 on Tinder. And we're also young enough to play the role of Andrea Zuckerman on Beverly Hills 90210.
I had a feeling that was coming.
800-222-5222 is telephone number 1-800-222-5222. It is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. She is the host of the Megyn Kelly Show. She's also playing at the Honda Center in Anaheim. That's the Pond for all you old school hockey fans on Friday, November 21st. Tickets are available at megynkelly.com. Megyn Kelly, welcome.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks so much for stopping by, playing a hockey arena. That's a big deal.
I'm so excited for this. I've never gone on tour before, but whenever you get out there and you actually press the flesh with the viewers and the listeners real time, like actually see people and hear directly from them and what's on their minds, it's uplifting, it's exciting, it's invigorating in a way. Doing the show in my little studio by myself never could be.
Well, if you're going to play a building as big as the Pond, you're going to have to trash your hotel room like your Metallica or the U.S. hockey team.
Yes, I just read the Charlie Sheen memoir. I'm in the right frame of mind for it.
I know. Send that TV right through the window.
I'm just gonna, call a couple of prostitutes, and then I know where to take it from there.
Have a few minis out of the bar. All right. Well. There's a lot going on in the world, and I know that you are a lawyer by training. You went to law school before you became a journalist, and I've been looking forward to picking your brain on this because this story that's coming out of Charlotte, North Carolina is just heartbreaking, where you have a Ukrainian refugee, a beautiful girl who's riding public transit, just trying to mind her own business, and a guy who was a career criminal who was let out of prison, I think a baker's dozen number of times, was there clearly out of his mind and murders this girl in cold blood. When you look at the details of this case, it just drives you wild because this guy's rap sheet is bigger than a CVS receipt. It just goes on and on and on and on. And the most recent time that this guy was let out, where he clearly should have been kept behind bars, he was let out by a judge who never even passed the bar. And I didn't even know it was possible to become a judge if you don't pass the bar, as if there aren't enough people to pick from, like, on any billboard in Los Angeles. But no, we made a woman who never passed the bar a judge, and this woman allowed this guy to be out on the streets, and it led to deadly consequences, and it just makes my blood boil. Your thoughts?
Well, that wasn't the problem. You've got judges who are absolutely brilliant, at least on paper, who went to Harvard and Yale, who would have let him out too. The distinction is not stupidity, it's ideology. All of these leftist judges signed on for the BLM lies about police and the criminal justice system and the civil liberties of insane people roaming the streets around us. They signed on full-fledged, without any hesitation. They changed the laws in nearly every single state in order to favor the criminal. And now we're reaping what they sowed. Too many people went along with it, judges, politicians, feckless public figures, and even in some cases, police chiefs, etc. And now we're seeing young women cut down in the prime of their young lives for nothing, for no reason. This guy in July was under arrest and in the courts because he called 911 falsely, claiming that some sort of substance had taken over his body and he needed help getting it out. He was obviously out of his mind. And we don't put those people behind bars or in some sort of safe, insane asylum because we're worried about their civil liberties. And we don't give two figs about the civil liberties of young 22-year-old white girls, i.e. to live. It has to stop. It's a complete outrage. This is officially the death of the BLM insanity that was unleashed on this country in June of 2020.
What do we do about these judges? Because I think you're right. I think we have a cadre of judges on the bench now, post-BLM, nominated by Biden, and at the state level all over the country by the dinner theater Bidens of the world. And many of these people have lifetime appointments where we can change politically in any of these states or jurisdictions and enact tough on crime policies or elect tough on crime mayors or governors or state legislatures or whatever. But these people aren't going anywhere, and I don't see them changing their mind anytime soon.
We're not going to be able to do anything about the judges that are already on the district courts. We're just not. I mean, you're going to hear some nonsense from some people on Twitter about how we should impeach them. That's not going to happen. The bar for that is extremely high. And just enforcing leftist BLM policies doesn't get you impeached anyway. What we need is more right-wing judges, more conservative judges, more Trump-endorsed judges, because even now, as he goes through these legal battles, seeing the George W. Bush judges oppose him. You know, they suffer from the TDS too. So you need more Trump-appointed judges. We haven't been doing very well in getting them confirmed so far in his first, year in office. But thank God for this Supreme Court. I mean, thank God, because a lot of these cases, as they wind their way up, we always have a conservative court that is looming there, and everyone knows it. Right now, they tried to, the left, like the ACLU, tried to withdraw one case that was about to go up on gender ideology because they knew exactly what was going to happen, and they tried to withdraw it right at the last minute. And Alliance Defending Freedom, which is involved in its more conservative group, is objecting to the attempt to spike the case now that the Supreme Court is interested. But the answer is not to try to impeach their judges, which is just a very high bar. It's to get more of our own on the benches and confirmed. But really, that's a federal thing. What we need is at the local level. Policing is generally local. It's done in your local town, your city, and your state. And what we need is Democrats. Hello, California. You're 40% Republican. Your ridiculous, absurd governor is bitching about redistricting in Texas when there are 18% GOP-held seats in California, when there are twice that in terms of Republican registered voters. Those people need to stand up. They need to get out to their local elections. They can change things like school boards and sheriff elections and DA elections and governors and local lawmakers. And that's what's going to happen.
What do you make of this argument that they come up with? And they make this argument all the time, that if you actually understood statistics, you would know that crime is actually going down and we're safer now than we were in 1950. Because we cover crime in California on this program. And I can't tell you the number of times we do stories where there's a street takeover and no one's arrested because they don't want to arrest juveniles and because the cops are outnumbered and we don't properly staff our police departments, so they don't want the cops going into a dangerous situation. So they take over an intersection, they do dangerous things, and then they loot a 7-Eleven, they loot an auto parts store, they loot whatever's there. And the owners don't even call the cops because they know nothing's going to be done. They just file paperwork with their insurance company. Many of them eventually get dropped by their insurance company because they've made too many claims or because they know that the neighborhood has gone downhill. But crimes like that, which dominate the local news, don't show up in any statistic, in any paper, because no one was arrested, no one was charged, no one was convicted. There were insurance claims that were filed, but that's the only place it's going to show up. So from the point of view of the Democratic mayor or the police chief or the governor or whatever, Newsom can go on TV and say, well, crime in Los Angeles is in free fall. Well, yeah, if you don't count any of the crimes that actually happen, I guess it is.
All of that is true. Moreover, if I'm 120 pounds and I balloon up to 350, I'm fat. If I lose 50 pounds and I drop down to 300, I'm still fat. I'm nowhere near my fighting weight and what I once was and what I need to be in order to remain well. And that's the state of crime in America in a lot of these states. And on top of that, you have actual fudging of statistics. We've seen this in Washington, D.C. You can't tell me this is the only city where this is happening, where the police now, because Trump has, of course, taken over policing, are openly admitting that they've had police bosses who have told them when they arrive at the scene of a multiple felony crime scene not to document the felonies, to go with the lowest crime that they think they can get a conviction for and chalk it up to that and forget the felonies ever happened. For all sorts of reasons, ideological reasons and greater likelihood of convictions. And the BLM footprint is everywhere. So it's fine. You know, you can say all day long, remain calm, all is well, as the mob is trampling you on the street. People know. Like, they're trying this in Washington, D.C. right now. They are trying it in California, too. I'm sure it is very nice in Bel Air. I'm positive of it. Just like on Magnificent Mile in Chicago, where you go shop at the Neiman Marcus, it's still pretty nice. Try going to the South Side, like I have, and walk among the gang-ridden territories where if you cross one street and you're black, but you've crossed into the Hispanic gang territory, you're dead, and vice versa. You know, and L.A. is having that similar problem in other pockets of California. So the people know it's a lie. It's a losing lie for politicians. They tell all the time because they think people are somehow going to believe the statistics as opposed to the feeling they have when they walk to their car at night. That's why this is such a winning issue for Trump. But, you know, beyond politics, we need to change our safety approach. We need to go back to actual policing and incarceration. That's what works. Go look at what George H.W. Bush did when he was president, and Bill Barr was involved as Attorney General in his administration. They locked people up. Guess what it did to crime? It drove it way down to record lows. That's weighing 120. That's not celebrating your 300-pound body.
Well, if you had a 300-pound body, you'd be on The View.
Oh, good God. Just the thought of that is traumatizing to me. Don't even say that.
Lead chair, too. We're talking to Megyn Kelly, who's appearing at the Honda Center on November 21st. Tickets available at megynkelly.com. Megyn, there was a video that went viral over the weekend at a Phillies-Marlins game where there was a home run ball that was hit out, and a dad picked it up and gave it to his kid. I think it was the kid's birthday. And a Karen in the stands flipped out, of course, because that's what Karens do. According to the video, which was very clear, she never caught the ball. So it's not like she caught the ball, the dad took it away from her. It hit the ground. It was bouncing around. It was a scrum. He was the one that picked it up. But she was of the belief because he didn't sit in that section, he wasn't entitled to that ball, and she was. So dad goes over, gives the ball to the kid. Karen comes over, harangues the dad. Dad gives the ball back to the Karen. Karen's very happy about that. Karen spends the rest of the game fighting with the people around her. Now the dad is telling the New York Post that he doesn't want the Karen to be publicly identified. I know she's been identified falsely a couple of different times, but I think they're getting warmer. And now the dad says, no, we don't need to know the Karen's identity. I do. I think we should know who this person is, because if you're going to go into a public place like a stadium and you're going to do that to a child, I think we deserve the right to know who you are, especially since the left spends all of their time trying to dox ICE agents and everyone else. I think we deserve to know her identity. Your thoughts?
I don't really care who she is. I saw the video. I thought it was ridiculous. The guy had every right to take the ball. It was the scrum. You have no right to it. This is tradition. Everyone fights for it. There's not some standard protocol where because it landed in your section, the people who are within grabbing distance of it can't try for it. Of course they can. And may the best man or woman win. And he got it. Too bad. So she behaved terribly. And I'm fine if she gets exposed and publicly shamed. I don't think she should be fired from her job or anything like that. But I do think the whole thing is very interesting because, and not to blame the dad, but why did the dad give it up? She went over, she scolded him. He had given it to his boy. He shouldn't have given it up. He should have said, take your story walking, madam. It's ours now. Goodbye. I don't think it was great he gave it up. I'm not blaming him. I'm commenting on the dynamics that I saw in that video. She was terrible, and he was a little weak-kneed. But then I realize that I'm a little heterodox on this because everybody's like, oh, the team, they gave him a bat and now somebody offered him like thousands of dollars and I don't know what else he's getting. If I'm honest, I'm more of the field of like, if that had been my kid, I wouldn't have given up the ball. And then I would have said, she's an ass. There are a bunch of asses in this world. It's really no big deal. Let's move on with our lives. Like, I'm not sure I agree with like treating the kid like not getting the ball was the equivalent of a year's worth of bullying. Now the whole society has to come together to coddle the boy. No, like we're trying to raise men. Something unfortunate happened to you. You're fine. We got the ball in the end, which, eventually they at least got the bat, whatever. I'm just saying, I think there were a couple of opportunities to teach a lesson all around, like bigger and more important life lessons, and we missed them.
The first thing I thought when I saw that video and I saw that woman, okay, this is who Gavin Newsom turning his social media accounts over to the cast from Glee is appealing to. This woman right here.
Yes. Oh, I mean, she knows who she is. They did identify the name of somebody, and the woman denied that it was her. And I did have to wonder, I'm like, do I believe the denial? I'm not sure. I think if it were me, I might deny it too, because she knows what's about to come her way. I don't know. I guess what I want to see is strong men raising strong boys, and for angry Karen women to just be mocked and laughed at, not penalized or like jobs taken, but just to be the subject of our scorn and ridicule, which is how from the beginning of time society corrects people. It's why I'm totally against allowing university heads or school principals to censor valedictorian speeches. Let them fall on their faces and say something offensive, and then the rest of us will take care of it. Street justice, the way we all used to. We'll mock you and we'll ostracize you. And, maybe some gentle bullying to teach you what can and cannot be said in front of polite society. And then we'll all go about our business, old-fashioned style.
Well, and then every time I click refresh on my computer, there's a new meme involving this woman, which is why I keep clicking that button like it's a morphine drip. Megyn Kelly.
She learned the hard way.
She's appearing at the Honda Center in Anaheim on Friday, November 21st. You can get tickets online at MegynKelly.com. And, of course, listen to Megyn on Sirius XM Radio. Megyn, thanks so much for stopping by.
Hey, thanks for having me, and I hope to see you guys all out there on November 21st. See you then.
And, Randy, coming up next week, you and I are going out on the road.
Friday, September 19th from noon to 3, come see the John Phillips Show live at Pineapple Hill in Sherman Oaks. We're going to be there all afternoon doing a live show. There's going to be great food, great drinks. We're going to have a special guest, Susan Shelley from the Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association. The courts have made it easier to raise your taxes. Come by and sign the petition to save Prop 13. Mark your calendars. Next Friday, September 19th from noon to 3, a live broadcast of the John Phillips Show at the wonderful Pineapple Hill in Sherman Oaks.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Kim in Lake Forest. Kim, hello.
Hey there. So I am a recruiter, and I staff for construction jobs all over the country. And every single day I get violent repeat felons that are applying for the jobs. You can look them up online. You can see the hideous crimes that they've done. And I've seen guys in particular, and women, but guys in particular, that have had multiple, like 15 felonies, violent felonies, right there on the website. They're free websites that you can go and check them out. And it just is mind-blowing that they're still. How is that possible? What is it going to take? That guy there, when they showed his 15 different mugshots, I see that every single day in every single state. And they're out there walking around, still a part of society, and nobody knows that they're sitting next to them, or that they're their neighbor, or they're at the park next to their kids. And, just like the girl that sat down just to take a bus, and that guy finally was stopped after he took her life. And all the rest of them are walking around. And it's sickening, and it needs to stop.
Typically, what types of jobs are they applying for?
These are that we staff for are construction jobs, and they call and reply to our job listings. They're very nice. They'll say these sweet things, and we look them up, and there's their crimes right there. Public sites that anybody can look at. And it'll list what their crimes are, and it'll say domestic violence, child abuse, animal abuse, beating up of cops. There's all these things are on there, but it's repeat felons, mugshot, the same guy, same face, everything. And it's just my colleague always says they walk amongst us, and it's frightening to think that.
Do they ever call you back if they don't get the job? And they say, I know why you didn't give me the job. It's because of my history as a felon, and that's illegal in this state, and I'm going to sue you, and I'm going to cause problems for you. Do you ever get that?
No, that's the scary part, and my husband is actually worried about that with me in this job. That is the scary part, but I look them up before I contact them. And some of these people, I have looked at people that have applied, and then before I contact them, I look them up, and they have 15 violent felonies, and I will not contact them because I don't even want to talk to somebody like that. It's super frightening. And again, it lists their violent crimes right there. It's crazy to see that. When I saw that guy on the news, I was like, yep, I see that every day in every state in the country.
When I was reading a news article about this guy, I forget where it was. I wish I had it in front of me, because I would cite it. But the article basically said that before someone commits an act of murder, they usually have a certain number of convictions in their past, because you just up the ante from something small to something bigger to something bigger. And you don't get caught every time you do it, but you get caught a fair number of times. And usually there's a magic number that you hit before you actually go out and kill someone. And this guy hit that number. And it should have been obvious to anyone, including that remedial judge, that this guy was a ticking time bomb.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I look at these guys every day, and they're ticking time bombs. They'll tell you if I do get somebody on the phone that I, for some reason, couldn't find them before I talk to them. Maybe it's a very common name, like, Joe Smith, and that's really hard to tell if that's the person. They'll freely tell me that, I have multiple felonies. They don't care. They don't care because they know they're just going to get out and then go to the next job until they find out, that they've stolen or that they've, raped someone, whatever, just, abuse their children, abuse their wife, whatever it is. They don't care. They just say, I've got multiple felonies, but I'm very hardworking. It's like, oh my God, it's crazy.
I just had dinner with a friend of mine who does hiring at the city of LA. And she was telling me that the same thing is true over there, that they get so many applicants who have so many convictions and such a long criminal history, and it's so frequent over there that they have a difficult time staffing positions because they're not allowed to hire people that have certain red flags in their past.
Mm-hmm. That's the same with us. There's a lot of places that we staff for new construction in very, very rural parts of the country, and there's not a lot of people out there that live there, and the majority of the people that live there are very, very poor and have committed a lot of violent crimes because there's no work out there. So they're going to keep, robbing people and then, drinking and drugs because they just have such a I hate to say it, but just such a poor life. There's no hope for them out there. There's nothing going on. And then it's this, perpetual cycle, this downward spiral. But again, at what point do we then take them out of society? Yes, you were born into this awful rural area, but that doesn't mean you can continue just to commit violent crimes and steal and rob and rape and everything else because of the poor situation that you're at in the area that you're born in. You still have to be, productive in society and not harm people like that. When I see the child crimes, when it says, crimes against a child, like I said, it lists their crimes. It just sends chills down me every single time. I think, how are they still walking around and allowed to do this?
Well, what's crazy is you watch these late night TV shows that show, or I guess it would be the advertisements, where they show all the animals out in the wild. And sometimes it's a lion eating another animal. and you see a giraffe that spots a lion, and the giraffe knows the lion is dangerous. The giraffe knows the lion is going to be a problem. The lion can eat the giraffe. So the giraffe takes off to get away from the lion. We have that same sensibility that's built into us. We know how to spot danger, and when we identify danger, we know to move in the other direction because the dangerous thing could do something bad to us. What we're being told through political correctness and equity and everything that right now is being preached to us on a daily basis is that we're supposed to take that sensibility, we're supposed to take that innate human ability to spot something that's dangerous, and we're supposed to ignore that voice in our head and pretend that the lion is just as peaceful as another giraffe. And it's just not true. We avoid the lion because the lion will kill us.
Correct. And they're pumping everybody in our society with these antidepressant drugs that say right on them that they could cause suicidal tendencies. They're switching genders, which is wreaking havoc on their mental health, their body. Nature's going to fight back when you do that. When you're pumping these people with drugs that's trying to change their entire DNA or whatever it is, it's changing them, and they're just mentally going off the rails. I mean, what do you think is going to happen in society? This is what's going to happen. Eventually people are just going to snap. They've had enough with the drugs. No money to get by, no means, anything, no hope, no law and order, nothing. And then they're going to turn right around. They're going to blame it on guns. Oh, it's guns that did this. Well, a gun didn't stab the girl in the knife. The fact that this guy was mentally deranged and deemed schizophrenic for however many years and was in and out of jail, or, if he was even in jail. There's probably some of those bookings that he never even was in jail. They just booked him and released him. No cash bail, you can go now. And it's like society is, it's a demise. It's just, no God in the world like that anymore. They're taking away all that. They're taking away all hope. Just continue. In California, we give them, clean needles so that they can keep going out and shooting drugs. I mean, I don't get it. But
I could tell you this. I never had strong feelings about drugs in my life. I really did have a live and let live sort of attitude. And then the state that I've lived in my entire life went from looking one way to looking like a toilet all over the place. And you cannot deny the correlation between the trash on the streets, the people living on the streets, the shampoo being locked up at the Target, and all the misery that we live with on a daily basis, and not make the connection between that and a permissive attitude about drugs. We live around a lot of people who are drugged out of their mind, and some of them have fried and scrambled their brains, and you can't bring them back. And until we are honest with ourselves about that, it's not going to change. Thank you so much for the call. I appreciate it. Well, there's a big mystery going on right now in the Bay Area regarding just exactly what caused BART, Bay Area Rapid Transit, to go offline without explanation.
And the latest possible suspect is a dumbass in the IT department.
Uh-oh.
For more, here's ABC 7 in the Bay.
Lots of follow-up questions today regarding the system-wide outage that shut down BART service Friday, and how can it be prevented from happening again. ABC 7 News reporter Leslie Brinkley is following the story and joins us live from the Walnut Creek BART station with the very latest. Leslie.
Notice how unless they have to do it about an Oakland story, they're not sending their reporters to an Oakland BART station.
Well, those news cameras are expensive.
Can I do this hit from Walnut Creek?
Well, today...
How about Fremont?
Well, today's commute on BART, as smooth as can be, a far cry from Friday's meltdown that really shook up passengers.
Have I lost faith in BART? No. It's concerning, though.
It was really funny, too, that this happened like one day after Scott Wiener started crying to everybody that our transit agencies are running out of money. What are we going to do?
Gee, I wonder why.
On Friday morning at 3:15 a.m., a technology upgrade triggered a cascading failure across the whole BART system, shutting it down across.
Boy, it doesn't matter if it's the Bay Area Rapid Transit or an entire airline. Software updates can completely destroy systems.
We need to go back to having Lily Tomlin patch things through.
The whole BART system, shutting it down across the entire Bay Area for the morning commute, impacting riders on their way to work, to classes, to flights. Train service wasn't fully restored until 11:45 a.m. It's the second full system outage in 4 months caused by a technology issue.
I wonder if they're aware that they're right next to Silicon Valley and some of the smartest minds on the planet are a stone's throw away from some of their stations.
It's the funniest thing, right? This is one of the things that Gavin Newsom wrote that stupid book about, Citizenville, how all of our computer infrastructure in the technology capital of the world is old and decrepit and running on DOS. And what have we actually done about it? Nothing.
Well, think about the loss of productivity that resulted from this, where you had any number of people who couldn't get to work, any number of people who couldn't get to school, any number of people who were visiting and were planning on spending their money as tourists couldn't do that. We screwed a lot up here.
ABC 7 News reached out to BART's general manager, who was out of town last week. The response? The GM is not available for interviews. BART went on to say, we don't plan on...
How much is that GM making?
Probably a lot, but not as much as the fake doctor.
BART went on to say, we don't...
Well, now I have to look this up. BART general manager salary. I'm just curious. Oh, okay. It's very possible that they made less than Ferrer, but it's also very possible that they make more than Ferrer. The salary range is between $400,000 to $720,000.
It's possible they make more than the fake doctor.
BART went on to say, we don't plan on doing interviews until Thursday, when we will give an update to the board. But there was no shortage of board members who wanted to chime in.
As a BART director, on behalf of BART, I definitely want to apologize to all of our customers.
It's a real reminder of how many people rely on BART to get around and how disruptive it can be to people's lives.
It's just unacceptable.
Like the number one outside of public safety thing you got to do as local government is make sure the trains run on time.
And they can't do that.
It's just unacceptable. It's inexcusable to have a shutdown at this magnitude.
Board members vowed to investigate.
Like, it's not like the trains couldn't operate. It's not like there was a power failure. At first, someone thought someone ripped out all the copper wiring. What the hell was the problem here?
Sounds like a computer crashed.
This is like that Southwest thing where they were running on 1980s computers and their scheduling system exploded in December of 2022, and I had to stay in Dallas for an extra week.
Board members vowed to investigate the failure in response to riders' questions.
Yeah, I do have a lot of questions. Like, what caused this to happen? Whose fault was it?
Over the weekend,
will anybody be fired for this?
Of course not.
Over the weekend, BART issued a statement saying network engineers were performing a cutover to a new network switch at the Montgomery station.
Are we going to do the forensic analysis that we need to do to find out what went wrong? Is it the equipment? Is it the switch that got replaced? Or is it the activation of the system with the new equipment?
It only takes one incident and one time of being let down when you're going to something important like a doctor's appointment for people to feel like we can't rely on the system.
Imagine if you were going to the doctor's office because you were going to get the test results to find out if you have herpes.
Well, let's hope it was just for a checkup or a blood pressure check or something.
It makes me very concerned about the future upgrades.
There's a lot on the table for BART right now. They're still trying to build ridership back up after the pandemic. They're looking for a loan from the state. They might have a ballot measure to be voted on. So all of these factor in. There's going to be a lot of heat, a lot of discussion at this Thursday board meeting.
So that's the latest on the BART shutdown. They updated the software and didn't work.
Try doing that on a Ford. I'm surprised I haven't been stranded too.
Oh, that's going to happen. You just cursed yourself.
For about 5 or 6 years, I had a camera in my car that where every time I went reverse, it was upside down. And I don't know why.